Hey guys, it's Mary again with Big on Books, and I'm making another video. Yeah. So today we're going to do my top 10, I believe it is, um, books that I read this year. And in no particular way are these in any sort of order, because if I tried to put them in any sort of order, it would be chaos. So let's get started. So I'm just gonna start off the books I don't have like physically with me right now because they're on Kindle. The first is The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, because I read The Princess Diarist a few weeks, maybe 2, 3 months after she had died. I had met her last year at Chicago Comic-Con, and I love Star Wars. It is one of my favorite series of movies of all time. So it was really surreal to meet her. And when I heard she died, it was just I don't want to say traumatizing, but it was so hard to comprehend and so hard to just be like, oh my god, so one of my favorite princesses has died. So I downloaded her book on Kindle and I just read for the longest time. I don't think I took a break in reading except for maybe to like work. It was this amazing story about her time on the Star Wars set. A lot of it was talking about her affair with Harrison Ford. And while she named him, she didn't really name him. She was just talking a lot about how, they just sat there and they ate and they had this affair. He had kids, I believe, and a wife back home, but none of this really mattered on the set of Star Wars in London. But to me, it was a really nice story just to know a little more about what went on during filming, what went on when she was doing The Force Awakens. I would highly recommend it if 1, you're a Star Wars fan, 2, you're a Carrie Fisher fan, or 3, you just love to read autobiographies. Okay, so the second book is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. So this book is old. This book is like 5 or something years old. It is one of the biggest trilogies in young adult, I believe. I know she's making books 4 and 5, maybe a 6. I don't remember. I know she's making another couple more, which come out in the next 2 years. But I started to read them just to see what all the hype is about, and it was amazing. I found the characters really well written. I really loved the villain, as we should say. I didn't really like the boyfriend. But I know what happens. Because 1, Tumblr, and 2, it's been out for so long, you just kind of know what happens. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to read the second one. I've wanted to download the second one, but I just have so many books. I'm just like trying not to use my money to download the second book on my Kindle. And then the third book is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, which is the third book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. And this book basically ruined me. Like, completely. I just sat and did nothing. Like, except for, like, read and work and eat. That was basically my schedule for those 2 or 3 days I was reading, because I just could not put the book / Kindle down. This book was just so amazing. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It made me very angry. Everything I want in a book. It was an amazing, I don't want to say conclusion to A Court of Thorns and Roses, because I know there are more books. I don't know what the books are about. I wish I did. I think they're about the different characters, but like, I don't want to say it's a trilogy. I don't want to say it's a conclusion, but I do want to say it was a really great ending in a way to a story I really loved, and I can't wait to read more. So the fourth book is actually a series of like 7 books, I believe. I can't remember. I believe it's 7. And I started this at the end of last year, but I'm counting it as a 2017 book because I finished it in 2017. And that is the Chronicles of Narnia series. All 7 books in one huge entire kind of anthology thing, which I really love. Because then I don't have like all of these books and I don't have to count 7 books. And I also really love like how Aslan is on the cover. I loved The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when I first saw it in theaters. And the Chronicles of Narnia, as I've said in previous videos, is a book series I never got into growing up. I'd heard of it, I had read of it in books. I had never picked it up because no one had ever handed me the book and no one had ever said, here, read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Magician's Nephew, or just one of these Chronicles of Narnia books. I got my information through the movies, which, the second and third ones, they stay true to the books in a way, but they do change some things. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think the filmmakers realized you can't mess up on the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, you can't mess up on Harry Potter. That's just not going to happen because you're going to have a legion of fans on your ass. But apparently the Percy Jackson filmmakers did not care about that. But back to Chronicles of Narnia. It took me a little while to read these because, 1, it's such a huge book. And 2, I really only cared about the Pevensey children, which is really only because of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the movies they basically made, of the Chronicles of Narnia are about the Pevensey children. A lot of people's favorites are like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Silver Chair, which does not include Pevenseys, like, a lot of the good stories in the Chronicles of Narnia do not have the Pevensey children in them. I prefer the Pevensey children, but that is my thing. But I just loved reading about the Pevensey children in Narnia and seeing the different symbolism in these books. So I just love this series and I know I will go back to it sometime. The next book is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And when there are 2 authors, I usually have to read the names because I forget the names. So Illuminae, basically, is in a different kind of format than usual books, which I really loved in this story. Not only is it the amazing story of like a girl and a boy trying to survive after their planet is kind of like taken over and blown up, but it's told in such a way that it just keeps you guessing and it also keeps you interested because you just want to see what the next page looks like and you just can't stop reading for the end of it till like 2 a.m. And it has a sequel, Gemina, which I've yet to pick up, which I'm going to pick up. But this is just such a great book. I would definitely recommend this. We saw more traditions, I guess, of what. Okay, so the next book is Drums of Autumn by Diana Gabaldon, which is the 4th book in the Outlander series. And if you know me, you know that Outlander is my first favorite. And then it goes Drummers of Autumn, Dragonfly and Amber, and then Voyager. And Voyager is a really boring book to me. And the season 3 just finished. It didn't really wow me like season 2 did. It didn't really wow me like season 1 did. Also because they're not huge, but there are definitely changes from book to screen that you just don't want to see. But Drums of Autumn was a really nice change from Voyager. It kept me interested. It kept me not wanting to go to work. It was just a nice refresher from the turmoil that was books 2 and 3, and it was just nice to see everything was nice and good and wonderful. And I can't wait to read books 5 through 8, I believe it is. Next book, Coming Up for Air by Miranda Keneally. Yes, I'm talking about 100 Oaks again, people. Yeah, no. So this is the final book in the 100 Oaks series. It is book number 8. And if you have seen any of my previous videos, you would know that this is one of my favorite series. I met Miranda last year. It was amazing. Let's just say this book it ruined me like A Court of Wings and ruined me. But this, I'd spent so much time invested in this series that at the end, I just went into my room, read the epilogue, and just kind of cried for the longest time because I'd invested so many hours into this series, and I could just read one book in 3 hours, and it wouldn't be and it would be amazing. The premise of this one is just there's a swimmer who does nothing but swim, and she kind of makes this deal with her best friend, kind of like a friends with benefits kind of thing. She starts to realize she's falling in love with him, which obviously when it's a friends with benefits kind of deal, that doesn't you don't really want that to happen, but it's gonna happen. And along with all of the other and along with this story obviously comes characters from Miranda's other books. But several main characters that appear in Catching Jordan appear in this, and that's one of the reasons why I loved this so much, was because of the characters, and Miranda writes really well. And Miranda, if you are watching this, please, I need a new book. I need, whether it's another book of this series or another, just another book from you, please. But definitely one of my favorites. I would definitely recommend this series, and I would definitely recommend reading it in order, because it's not one of those series where you can just pick them up in any order. It's more of a series where all of these characters come together in some way, in some connection. And what I did was I read 1, 4, 3, 2. Don't do that. Read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Read those and you will understand, because I had no idea what was going on half the time. And I felt so bad. But I got up and I was just yay! I understand now. But I just love this book so much. Book is also a book that people read a lot when I was little. In a way, I sort of read it because if any of you are my age, or maybe a little bit older, do you remember these great illustrated classics kind of things? They had so many of them, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And what they would do is they would dumb it down. I don't want to say dumb it down, but they would just have pictures and make the type huge, so it'd be for third graders, second graders, kids who are just learning to read and not really understanding the story. So I read this one, and it wasn't until this year that I actually read the actual story with the tiny print. And again, this is one of these books that you read when you're little, like Chronicles of Narnia and Harry Potter, but you can enjoy it at any age. But I definitely feel with Chronicles of Narnia and Anne of Green Gables, that kind of did not grow up with these characters when I was in middle school or elementary school. But I do think I appreciate these stories more now than when I'm 23 than when I am like 9, because I wouldn't understand anything there. I would just think it was a great story. This is an amazing story. I'm 3 books in out of 8. Yeah, 8. A lot of books I read have 8. A lot of series I read have 8 books, which is really annoying. But Anne of Green Gables, the first book, is amazing. I just love how we see Anne mature, go from this like 12-year-old girl to this like, what is she, 17, 18, something like that. Really amazing. Is The End of Oz by Danielle Page. And this book is the final book in the Dorothy Must Die series, which I absolutely love. And I felt like this book was a wonderful end to the series. I felt like this book was definitely one of the better books I read this year and better endings to a series I read this year. Any of you know this book well, or at least have read it at least once, you know how it ends. I love the ending. And I definitely would recommend, if you haven't at least finished the series or like read to book like 3 or something, try to get through the entire series. The ending is worth it, and the beginning is really worth it too. So I would definitely recommend this series. I don't want to say it's my favorite book that I read this year. I don't want to say that, but it's definitely high up on the list. It's definitely like top 2 or 3. I have no idea where the cover is, so I am going to, but it is Alex approximately. It's kind of a You Got Mail kind of thing. 2 people from different sides of the country, a girl and a guy, meet on a chat site about old movies. The girl moves to the guy's hometown where her father happens to live, and she decides, oh, you know what, I'm going to surprise him. I am not going to tell him, which, you know, is always the best idea. And then there's this kind of, she makes friends, but she also makes an enemy. But the thing is, which is not a spoiler because it is heavily implied, 1, by the summary, and 2, it is revealed in the summary, that her tormentor is also the guy that she's been talking to. So I definitely really liked that kind of, I definitely like that kind of aspect. You kind of got from the summary that he was the guy, but definitely the way everything flows together, their chats, the way they talk, the way her father is written, the way the main character is written is really well. I would definitely recommend this to movie lovers, especially old movie lovers, because they talk a lot about Audrey Hepburn movies, and I don't want to say I haven't seen a lot of them, because I've seen none of them, but they talk a lot about really old movies that I have never seen. So definitely old movie lovers and romantics. And I don't want to say this is a retelling, because it's not really a retelling of You've Got Mail, But it is in a way like that. But I really loved it. It's one of my favorites this year. It's not one of my favorite books of all time, but it's definitely one of my favorites this year. So read it, please. And then we can discuss how amazing it is, because it is amazing. Yeah. So that is the end of my books. Those are some of my favorite books of this year. Honorable mention goes to Lady Midnight. Lady Midnight, I love you. Don't necessarily like the way you ended, but can't wait to read Lord of Shadows. I will see you guys later. Bye.